Oh, you're so ugly now.
That looks like some disinfo campaign where like they were trying to do it to Jennifer Aniston, where they're like, her pussy actually smells.
Yeah, she's a fat bitch, pussy, stinking ass, fuckhead.
She's actually annoying after you have awesome sex with her beautiful naked body.
She barely even fucking blows you. It's nice for a while, and she does suck on your balls. That's pretty cool.
Give me a whiff of that. Oh wait, are we going?
Yeah, we've been going for a while.
Give me a whiff of that stinky pussy, dude. I don't give a shit. Oh,
just in case Jennifer Aniston's watching.
Jennifer Aniston. Hey, Andy Malfrina, married man. I will eat your smelly pussy.
I'll tell you what. Throw some of that stinky puss this way. Find out what happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would fucking.
God, I'm addicted to this game. I'm playing this game the whole time.
I was playing Fortnite when you got here. I can fire that back up.
How you doing on Fortnite?
This could be the game cast.
That's the game cat. He's always playing fucking games, dude. Yeah, look at that. Hey, Stanley.
Hey, why
are you farting?
This one's called Fart Tummy.
You're farting, Stanley, you fucking idiot.
I'm Johnny Knoxville. This is a cat. We are loopy as hell. Isn't this usually reserved for nightcasts where people get all loopy and stuff?
No, this is like the early pod.
This is why morning shows are good.
I kind of like the early. I was going to talk to you about possibly pushing it up. Maybe not this early, but possibly.
I don't mind it.
One, I miss a lot of traffic. I missed a bunch of traffic today, which was nice. And I got to be honest, every time we do the podcast later in the day, the traffic comes out of nowhere. Every single fucking time, there's no way to prepare for it.
You put in your GPS, and it's like, yeah, you'll be there in, 2 shakes till the leaves stale.
Yeah, and I go,
and then you're like, wait a minute, this is like 14 shakes. This is way too many shakes.
Oh my God! I was driving through town. You said 2 shakes. This is at least 20 shakes.
We got a whole farm of lambs here. What are we gonna do with all these lambs? Yeah, this is morning show. We do big.
You know what I think it is?
Red and.
Big red and well fed.
I don't know how we're not on Sirius right now.
Sirius XM, do us a big favor.
You don't have a morning show right now.
Murder Jim Norton and Sam Roberts.
Best part. Jim Norton's not even on
Jim
there.
Just left.
They don't have a morning show right now.
Spare Jim Norton.
Sam Roberts, go live it up in wrestling.
Murder Sam Roberts.
We'll take broadcasting over. Imagine 2 comics, not just one dweeb and then a comic. I mean, 2 dweeb comics.
Oh my God, that's
big red and well fed.
Big red and well fed.
But that's not the episode title. It has nothing to do with anything we're talking about.
Oh yeah, didn't we have like a prepared topic?
Did we figure out what we're talking about on what's this one?
All right, you want to do? Let's. Yo, what podcast do you know that figures out what podcast it is in the middle of it?
We could merge them and that's the morning show. We just do 4 hours essentially of talking music for the first half, and then
that could be the big red and well fed podcast.
Yeah,
we can actually do that where we just literally power the fuck through.
Deities month.
What?
I just thought of something else.
Yeah, it's religion month.
Yeah, deities month. There we go.
Dude, I gotta be honest. This Buddhism topic. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
This Buddhism topic was real interesting to me because it made me like going into it. I was like, this might be my new thing. And then the more I read about it, I was like, I like it, but I do have a broad gripe with religion.
Yeah.
They love dancing around their whole thing.
Well, that's the best thing about Buddhism, Andy, is it's not a religion, it's a practice.
Well, so I saw some things that would kind of like argue and debate it because Buddhism with their rituals and their things like that would constitute it as more of a religion, but it is something highly debated as if it's either like a religion or a philosophy, but
a real kind of like, I'll tell you what, too many damn rules. I thought
think
for sure,
so?
Well, this is what I thought. Like so they're the main thing, the 3 practices of Buddhism. Sila, what's the other one? Hold on. It's samadhi and pranaya. Sorry.
Perennial.
Actually, I tried to write. I could go for some perennial right now.
What is that? That's Indian food?
Spanish ham.
Oh, but, really?
But yeah.
Is that what that is?
But they say like there's only 3 practices, right?
Okay.
But then in one of the
How you
practices,
gonna get ready for the game?
See, yeah, we're talking about practice.
You only doing 3 practices before the big game?
We're talking about 3 practices. We're talking about 3 practices of Buddhism.
Oh, we're talking about Buddhism.
We're talking about 3 practices of Buddhism.
Talking about Buddhism?
We're not talking about the religion. We're not talking about Buddha. We're talking about the 3 practices.
Shit, I'm on the sidelines getting my cornrows done by my mama. You talking about Buddhism?
But in the 3,
Shout
in
out
the first one, there's 5 more practices.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
it's
the cool thing I noticed about Buddhism was it was kind of had its main thing, and everyone gets like their own flavor. It's kind of like one of those soda machines where you're like, I would like a Fanta.
Yeah.
And then there's basically like, there's 10 Fantas. 10 different kind of Fantas that you could have today in the fucking executive soda DJ booth, whatever the fuck that thing's called, at a Wendy's now.
Yeah. 3 Sambucas. There's a are you saying that to be silly, or is that how you say Fanta?
What?
Are you saying that to be silly, or is that how you say Fanta?
I can tell you got caught up on that.
Wait a minute, what are you saying?
It is weird I'm saying it like that because I'm a big stickler on people saying things properly. I say stickler as in stop it. Like margarita, things like that. Stop say things how your face says them. So I don't know why I said Fanta.
Venezuela.
You know what it is? I think it's I do things ironically and then they just turn into my thing. Okay. So every time popular Puerto Rican pop star Baboni.
Of course.
That's how I say it.
Baboni.
I will never say it any other way my entire life because his name is Baboni.
Baboni. No, I was
Farkun.
I was wondering if there is no, because I'm like technically I think you're right because it's how the song is written. Do you want a Fanta?
Fanta. It would be funny.
It would be.
Do you want a Fanta?
Yeah. Do you want a Fanta? Doesn't work.
That doesn't work.
Fart gun. It's not even loaded. Sense. Don't worry, guys. I just want you to know this fart gun's not. Oh. Brandon lead him. But no, there's.
That gun was loaded.
That gun was loaded.
But it was what was it? It was like a blank that
it was like shrapnel. It was like a blank that like got it was an earlier blank that I think was lodged in the barrel, and when another blank went off, it shot that projectile into him.
And Alec Baldwin said, "What beautiful work you've done."
Did he really? He said that about Brandon Lee?
Yeah, no, he heard about that story, and that's what inspired him to kill that lady on the set of Rust. Oh.
Okay, I was like, wait a minute, were they friends?
Hey, sometimes
so good.
Sometimes
no,
it's
I'm a dum-dum.
No. You needed to come walk around the corner with me to see what was on the other side of the bush.
No, I just wanted to say because I got distracted again. But this is why it's morning radio. No more heroes. But there's.
I've got my coffee cup I got from my buddy's wedding.
I got my cat mug that
not to be confused.
My family members get me every year because they don't know what else to get me. What else I like.
We have that exact mug.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's like
multiple.
That's one of the cat mugs people have.
I think it's called from Kohl's. I think that's what these are called. The line is called.
Do you remember
Discount.
the Cat's Meow?
A place?
No. It's like I don't even know what to describe it. My mom would get these things all the time whenever we'd go on vacations.
Yeah.
And it would just be a wooden cutout that would have a drawing of like a historical piece of architecture from that city.
Okay, yeah.
And there would be like a tiny cat somewhere in the picture. And that was like the whole company and my mom fucking went crazy for these.
Hey, moms love knickknacks.
Oh, dude, my favorite thing is every time Christmas rolls around and my mom just has her fucking, like, she loves Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah.
So she has her, like, 20 Rudolph figurines. She just puts them out on the counter, 2 weeks, and then they go back in the box.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly, yeah. I have some, I inherited some of them. I have some of our old, like, Christmas stuff, but it's, like, all either toxic for the cats to eat, or it's like it's like made of glass or some shit. I'm just like, I'm not putting this out. I don't know if I'm supposed to care about this.
People go, that's like Steph's whole the job she works for.
Yeah,
it's her whole business.
Stanley.
All right.
Come on, man.
Come on, dude. You don't get paid to fucking. You get paid to fucking work.
Shotgun.
Look at him. He's clearly union.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a protest. Sorry. We haven't paid Stanley in months.
That's the place Steph works for. That's their whole business model. Is really fucking expensive knickknacks.
Yeah. I know we got sidetracked double, but I wanted to bring it back to Alec Baldwin.
Oh yeah.
Real quick, because
when he killed the lady.
Well, before that, I don't know how I feel about. Do I like Alec Baldwin?
Well, I think it's like
I don't know if I like him because the Palestine thing when that lady was like
Free Palestine, Alec Baldwin,
and he just goes, what's it over there? Bam! I just whacks her ass. Like I kind of like the way he treats people that like people that are fucking like openly fucking with them or trying to get that reaction video out of them.
See, I had similar.
But then other times I'm like, I don't know.
I had similar feelings where, shamed or disgraced former congressman or senator or whatever.
Do you know?
Anthony Weiner. No, I don't. Anthony Weiner.
Oh, Anthony. I know Anthony Weiner.
He was just recently, He was just recently on the Adam Friedland show, and I watched it, and Weiner's got this thing about him. I got to tell you, Weiner's pretty likable. When he's conversationally chit-chatting, he's very likable. But then you always have the moment where you're like, oh, you are a deviant sex pervert.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were sending that to like teenagers.
Yeah,
right?
you were like sending them to teenagers. You were taking pictures of your hard penis with your kid in the photo, and you're like, but like conversationally in the beginning, he was like
for scale. Look, it's as big as a fucking baby.
Yeah, just like being the size of a baby arm's actually kind of like
it was just,
easy.
Yeah, look,
just look. But yeah, no, like when they were just kind of talking in the beginning, like getting to know each other, he was actually incredibly likable and funny and charismatic. Yeah. And then they started talking about the shit, and you're like, oh yeah. You're a deviant, evil sex pervert. Yeah. And then I think Alec Baldwin's a similar situation. Like, I don't know. Like, the way I get self-preservation, but the way that it's like it's one thing to fight the case and you're like, dude, I know I murdered this lady, but I don't want to go to jail. We're fighting this case so I don't rot in jail. But then when you, like, win the case, you don't make a fucking reality show with your fake Hispanic wife. Yeah. Like, Alec Baldwin, it's like, brother, you should have just... Like, do what Mel Gibson did after he screamed about the Jews and black people on the voicemail. Yeah. Go away for like 5 to 10 years and then slowly come back into acting. It's like, you made a reality show so it's like that makes, like, while Alec Baldwin is very funny and entertaining, and I usually love how he deals with paparazzi and people bothering him, I do think he is a... deep dark psychopath. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So it's an asterisk. It's kind of like one of those things of like, I don't think I ever want to hang out with him, but like I don't necessarily go like, what a piece of shit, I don't necessarily go, what an awesome guy. It's just a thing of like, I like watching what's going on. I like him. I think he's way more entertaining than Gary Busey ever was. I really got tired of Gary Busey's shit remember when he was like going red hot for a while because of his traumatic brain injury, and then everybody was like, he talks so weird now. Well, yeah, Gary Busey was in that because of his traumatic brain injury. But he was big. He was big in that time period where that didn't matter. It was like before we started to realize like celebrities were people, and and like before people started
just like us.
People started well, not just like us. Oh. We don't get to go to those Illuminati parties, but also too, like, people were more like sensitive to personal issues and stuff when it was just like, you guys are just our fucking playthings for our entertainment. Yeah. It was just it was so funny. Like, in hindsight, it was just normalized to be like, Gary Busey's kind of fucking retarded and weird.
This guy crazy.
And you're like, he got in a severe car accident or something like that, or a motorcycle accident.
And like, his brains, like, I think his brains were exposed. Like, it's like, it was that bad to where, like, his skull cracked open. Like, it was really bad.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Like, his brains were exposed. They were stealing money from the city government.
We caught you.
Exposed brains.
just a guy with a cameraman just going like, sir, Mr. Brain, can we get a sir? Can we get a statement,
Mr.
sir?
Mr. Brain, please, we have questions.
Is it
Why
true?
are you afraid to answer these questions?
Are you using campaign funds?
Is it true you use it? Mr. Busey's Brain, is it true you using campaign funds to make Mr. Busey's teeth bigger?
They're still trying to push them a little bit on Instagram, but we digress.
We digress.
Religion,
Buddha.
it is not. No, but Buddhism, I think that was the first thing, because like you, as I'm like learning about Buddhism, I'm like, damn, I think not only that,
seems kind of cool.
I love a philosophy-driven religion.
Yeah.
Let's just say, because that's the other thing, is they don't call themselves, that it's not called a religion, and it seems less culty than like an actual. This actually, on paper, Buddhism, as I'm going like, this actually seems like tailor-made for me, of a thing of like, it is an exploration of, it's whatever you want to explore. They're not telling you what you should be praying for. They're not telling you need to ask forgiveness. They don't know you.
Wait, it's whatever I want to explore?
It's literally, well, I mean, I don't think they, as long as you're not hurting people.
They're like, look at all those look at all that Buddhism in those solo Asian masturbation videos.
Well, this is where I get the hang up, right? So like they don't ever say like you don't become a Buddhist.
Yeah.
Right? What it is like you are like they say people are people. And you can either practice Buddhism or not. You're either a person that practices Buddhism.
Wasn't it more about
it's not a thing that is supposed to be a part of your identity. You have the choice to make it that.
Yeah.
But it's not a thing that's like, you don't have to be like, well, I'm a Lutheran. You know what I mean?
Wasn't it more about reaching like enlightenment and getting rid of suffering
through contemplation? So it's like it's eliminating suffering through. So the ultimate goal of Buddha's teachings is to liberate your mind from unsatisfactoriness, which that's really fun that they make up words. I like that. But also from the world's sufferings. Essentially, you're detaching yourself from materialistic or carnal essentially things that are just things that, if you think about the three actual tenets or whatever, even in this first one, where it's like, for reference for people that are of other religions, this would be like kind of like their commandments, and it's 5, and it's pretty simple. Abstaining from killing beings, and I love that, from killing beings. Now, because a lot of times, like, everything is kind of alive,
dude,
in a way. Like so you have to end the life of something.
That makes sense too, because you ever kill even a bug, and you know me, Pat. Not a fan of yucky stuff.
You don't love yucky stuff.
I hate
all.
yucky stuff.
Yeah,
and
he multiple times when living here, he goes, "Ew, a buggy wuggy," and I had to run in. He was on the.
I jumped up. My
standing on the windowsill.
Oh, my giant skirt was hiked up.
Yeah.
You could see my doubloons.
Aye.
Or wait. Not doubloons, bloomers. What the fuck am I talking about?
Oh, you had some money up there.
Oi, Mr. Patrick.
Yeah, you don't like yucky stuff.
I don't like yucky stuff, but there is like a thing when you ever like kill a bug and you're like, I didn't need to kill that bug.
Yeah. Bro,
even then, there is a little part of me sometimes where I'm like, that was unnecessary. Yeah. That hurt me a little bit.
I kind of feel like, even in that sense, that like, you know how like people go like, oh, just because it's not cute, you don't care. Like, actually, sometimes it really does. It doesn't matter. Like, it could be, again, like a snake or a spider or some shit. Like, spiders, for the most part, it's because I'm afraid of them freaking out. And like, because they start doing that thing where they scurry around where you're like, I just want to, let me help you.
Yeah.
But it's also like, it always comes down to like, I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Or if I'm like walking and I'm like taking steps, I will consciously, if I see myself about to step on a bug, consciously keep away. If it's outside, if it's in my domain, I'm not the best Buddhist. You know, I'll fucking mush a bug every once in a while. But
that's when having a good sense of property rights is important, because it's like, hey, you aggressed on me, you came into my property unannounced, I have to defend myself.
I think if we brought this case to Buddha, he'd be on my side. I was just standing.
And that's why
I was stomping my ground.
That's why there's a bunch of buckshots in my wall.
I didn't stand my ground. I stomped my ground.
Stomp your ground.
So the second, abstaining from stealing. Nothing wrong with that.
Sorry, I was just thinking about gun laws.
Yeah.
And there's one called like, what the fuck is it called? There's one called like the Castle Doctrine, and that one always makes me laugh because I'm always just like, that sounds more fun than it actually is.
Yeah, the Castle Doctrine sounds like a weird like reality show.
It sounds like rules for like
at the end of it, you win a castle.
It sounds like rules for making a moat around your house.
Yeah, like well, the Castle Doctrine is you know what? I will say this before you look it up. It sounds like a Florida law. because it's like one of those things where like they want to make things. It's not like how sometimes people call, like, if they're a dishwasher, they might say, I'm a porcelain technician. You know what I mean? Or I'm a custodian. I'm not.
You know what's worse than that is when what have you ever heard like bartenders call it like the mixologists or bar sciences, and you're like,
fuck yourself.
You're like, no, there's booze there.
Lone Star.
Yeah. Dude,
turn around, get that Lone Star, open it up, and put it right here. Hey, shut the fuck up.
Hey, could you fill that glass up with the liquid I'm not allowed to touch?
yeah. You know all those bottles that are easily within arm's reach for me that I could just make my own, and the ice and the fucking lemons and it's all here, and I can just do it. But can you do it?
That's something I do not
Please.
Did you were a cook a couple times, right?
Multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've worked around. There is something about working in a goddamn restaurant where people think that it's like every day's D-Day, and they talk about it like. You're like, dude, you're literally just making... And in most restaurants, like chain restaurants, you're like, most of these people here could make this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, this is nothing... It's not rocket science. It's literally just you going like, oh, it's grilled cheese, but they want... Wait, they want the what? They want a...
Oh, my God. How many more things am I going to have to microwave? We work at Applebee's. The castle doctrine is a legal principle that allows individuals to use force, including deadly force and self-defense within their own homes. Okay.
The castle. That's what I'm saying. Like, that sounds like when you say they call it, this is my castle, this is my domain.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck off, you dummy.
I get that, though, because there's, like, that seems fair, because there's definitely laws in, like, I think the rule in Jersey is, like, you have to prove that you ran into the closet and like pissed your pants before you're allowed to shoot a guy in your house.
Yeah, it's crazy. Where you're, and then if for some reason one of the shots is in their back or something like that, then you're like, well, you know, they were trying to get away, and it's like, what is that? What do you?
I don't know, dude.
It's like one of those things where you're like, it's if they're running away and you shoot them, and it's like, but they were in my house.
They were in my house.
They were taking my stuff or attacking. You know what I mean? Like,
dude,
because then they go, oops. It's like it's literally it's basically like if you're stealing, and then the cop goes like, hey, I caught you stealing. You go like, all right, I'll give it back.
Well,
it's like that's not a choice. That's not, you don't get to just go like, all right, well, I'm sorry, I'll leave. Okay.
Well, it's a similar it's a similar concept to me when like. You ever have a car completely hold up traffic and they're like letting you go?
Yeah.
And it's like they're trying to be nice, but it's like, no, there's a lot of like these unwritten rules that we have to follow to keep a civilized society. And one of those is don't enter someone's house that you're not supposed to be in.
Right.
So it's like the consequence of that, I'm not even saying should be, but it's like be aware that the consequence is going to be blammy.
Yeah, worst case scenario, bro. Like it's not, but not if you're
not if you're a Buddhist
house. Yeah.
You can't shoot any.
You can shoot them. Yeah, you can. It doesn't say you can't harm beings.
Buddhism.
Remember, Buddhism is huge in Thailand, and so is Muay Thai. So like they're hand in hand, my friend. Number 3, abstaining from sexual misconduct. That's when I'm like, you know what? That's just. And that does include pornography,
rough fingering. Wait, no porno?
It's sexual misconduct, essentially being like a deviant little boy.
I
believe.
Oh.
Actually, I didn't look into the actual. Does that mean? But it's just sexual misconduct.
Does that mean no masturbating?
Yeah, sexual misconduct. Essentially,
that's not
like
misconduct.
You're abusing your body.
I heard a guy on a podcast say it's important to jerk off 4 times a week, or else you get prostate cancer. And I've decided that's real.
Okay.
And you know what I think that means? I don't think it means no masturbation. I think it means no gooning.
Well, let's see. View masturbation, because I was wondering that too. This is a big selling point. There's another one of these. Does not explicitly address masturbation. However, the teachings of Buddhism emphasize the importance of controlling desires, attachments, including sexual desires. This is because also intoxicate the part. There's another one here. Number 5. I will skip one. Abstaining from intoxicating your body, and that is way more open to interpretation than the sexual misconduct, in my opinion. Sexual misconduct is basically if you're doing something. And like you said, gooning, like going through, and like I think masturbating is fine, and I think even like having like casual sex is okay, but like sexual misconduct in the sense of like if you're doing something and you know this is wrong, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think
if you know you're being a bad little boy.
And that's honestly one of the
now
things.
I'm hornier.
and this is why, and this is also why I feel like it gets to a point where like you kind of know yourself.
Yeah.
And there is a level of like not hedonistic desire. Like it doesn't feel like that, but it's also like a more of a free nature to it than in most other religions.
Yeah.
Even though this is technically even if you don't call it a religion, it's definitely not. I don't think this is a cult. I think this is definitely built more like a religion. Because you got the numbering, you got the tiers that don't lie, don't steal, don't.
Well, I think like
that's number 4. Abstain from lying.
I think people could possibly. I think Buddhism's harder to turn into a cult.
Yeah.
Because I think key components of a cult is one guy, who's like the guy. I think that's why it was so easy back in the day for like Christianity or Catholicism to like rule people, because like the priest would say like, "Oh, God's speaking through me."
Yeah.
And like with the Buddhist, I forget what's the. I know I was looking up a thing in like Tibetan Buddhism, the Dalai Lama's the top dog in there. Mm-hmm. But even then, he's like, I'm not like the leader of Buddhism. I'm just the best at explaining it. So like I'm just like even in Buddhism, the top dog in Buddhism is just the dude who's the best at like explaining it to people, and he's the best interpreter of it. That's what I realized too, where Buddhism has like, there's no like one Buddha. There's like a fuck ton over time, like Green Lantern. Yeah. It's basically whoever like control. What was the thing I said I read where it was like basically a Buddha comes into the world, lets everyone know what's good, and then eventually they die. And then the world hits a certain point where they're like, we need another Buddha, send another one down. Yeah. And then another Buddha comes down and then re-enlightens the world.
Yeah, like there's no kind of like, it feels less deity-ish and more of like a representation of knowledge. And that's the thing that I really appreciated about the Buddhist teachings is the fact that like their distinction between knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
And knowledge is essentially, you can read all the books, you can do all the stuff, but wisdom comes with contemplation, experience, and time. So like it's a thing where you don't have to, it's not about necessarily, and I think the thing I realized was like in Buddhism teachings, it's general and more or less about like less specific stories. Mm-hmm. Like the Bible has like, here's a story of Job, and this guy did this, and this is what happened, and that even in a specific story like that, it's still a lot of interpretation, and some of it gets interpreted wrong, or they kind of like put themselves in those stories. Where I feel like it makes it easier and to stay mindful in real life or real time instead of trying to remember a specific after school story or that they heard a million times. These practices are more timeless and like kind of work in any period.
The Buddhist practices feel more like
they don't have to update their teachings.
Yeah, they feel like, because they feel like they're like, oh, we've figured out universal truths, versus like all the other religions are like, these are the rules. Don't break the rules.
Yeah, it's like, it's literally, it's a thing where like these are just and this is my favorite part is like they're not necessarily out. There's no real outreach with Buddhism, but it is the most welcoming. Mm-hmm. So like they could be going out there going like, hey guys, why don't you come to Buddhism? Hey guys, but they're like, we're here. They'll find us if they need us. It's essential. So like where like a lot of people go like they'll make a decision how they interpret the Bible or how they interpret the teachings of the Bible or something like that, and then they'll go like, well, it's all in God's hands and that's all this other stuff. It's like there's a level of taking responsibility out of your hands of being like, well, this is what God does, and I'm so glad that God did a good thing, or that, sometimes the reason God does bad things is he's trying to test us, all this other stuff. It's like this weird, you're always just trying to learn this lesson, whereas like you never actually stop And when you pray, you're praying to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to talk to him, or you have to find your relationship with him, or you have to do that. And whereas Buddhism is just like, they're just like, we want you to take time out to contemplate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think a lot of the bigger non-Buddhist religions seem like they were established to explain stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things back in the day before science figured out a bunch of shit. They were like, oh, that's, the gods are mad, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. That's why these things are happening. We pray to the gods for a good harvest and shit like that. And now, people have figured out agriculture and shit, so you don't really see people praying for a good harvest anymore. That's what I always know. The older I got and the more things like science was figuring out, the more I started to notice, I go, oh, God really just feels like we don't know how to explain that yet.
Yeah, it's like a thing where they're not necessarily trying to go over, they're not trying to teach you anything. They want you to contemplate and learn stuff for yourself. And that's what I think is this.
That's really cool. That makes you into like a more thoughtful, like well-rounded person.
And this is why, like, every time, because like when Chris and I were starting the Buddha Boys podcast, I was like, well, I'm going to look into it a little bit because I never have been a super religious person.
Yeah.
But a lot of the way that Buddhism teaches is really what it is discipline. It's really just it's a discipline. Like the whole point of the sila is being disciplined from your body and mind, acting morally and physically disciplined when out in the world. Like those are the 5, and then the 5 precepts.
So you're trying to say you didn't really lock in too much on Buddhism?
I locked in.
What?
What do you mean? I did. I am.
I'm just saying you're fat and abuse drugs all the time.
No, I don't. Well, that was the other thing was like I want, like, even when it's like caffeine.
Pat, you're jerking off right now.
Yeah, huh? But even like something like caffeine, like that's where I'm like I wasn't necessarily like relying on caffeine until I started working at a coffee place. And it was like a thing where like I really legitimately didn't start drinking coffee until my like 30s.
Really?
Yeah. It's a thing where it just I didn't.
Did you do energy drinks?
No, not really. I mean, I drink soda, but like it's not like a.
You just like got up and.
Yeah, there was never a thing where like if I don't think there's ever really a day where I didn't have a soda. So like that's probably why I wasn't getting crazy headaches or some shit.
I'm not even trying to make funny. It's just a funny sentence.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was not.
Brother, I'm telling you.
That's your memoirs, dude. Not a day without a soda.
Not a day without a soda.
The Pat George story.
It's like part of my regiment. You know what I mean? But then like it gets to like where like the abuse of these things, because that's the other thing of like so like intoxicating your body. When I did do more research on it, because I was like what's considered intoxicants in Buddhism.
Yeah.
Most traditional Theravada Buddhism or Buddhists, find marijuana, hallucinogens, and other recreational drugs to be violations of the 5th precept. But it's also an intoxicant ourselves with mindful consumption of caffeine, unmindful consumption of caffeine, sugar, social media, sex, certain types of conversations, movies, and even books. So like they're like saying like junk food in any sense. So I think
that makes sense.
I think if you aren't knowingly intoxicating your body, I definitely should cut down on marijuana.
Yeah.
But like it's a situation where like most of those other things, even the point of vegetarianism, is a huge thing with Buddhism because of the not harming, being involved with harming animals or beings.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. That's another big point for me where I'm like, I have been multiple times, almost the same way I feel about social media, where I'm like, I should, like, morally, I kind of have wanted to be a vegetarian. I just really love fucking eating meat. Unfortunately, I don't have to kill the things, so I don't go through that experience. But if it was ever up to me, I don't know if I could take a life. And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I truly believe in not harming or killing other beings.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not. It's a thing where like the practice of these things of so the second part of this is samadhi, which means concentration. Meditation and concentration are made easier with the practices of sila. Practicing the 5 precepts, it helps to clear the mind of regret. So essentially, it's a thing.
I need a little bit of that.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like that mindful, the mindfulness of like, so when you go to contemplate at the end of your day or whatever part of the day that you're setting aside to do your meditation, you're not sitting there go, well, like, yeah, I had fucking 4 cups of coffee and I jerked off this morning. I feel like a piece of shit. Like, I hit the vape pen. I should have just fucking done the dishes and fed the cats, like shit like that. Like instead of that,
hitting the vape pen. Fuck.
The sila helps to clear the lane for when you're having your meditation to contemplate bigger things in your life, life in general, the universe, anything like that. Like that it frees up. So it's not saying that you can't practice Buddhism while doing these things, but then when you're made aware of the 5 precepts, it's not. It is. That's why I say it's a religion, because there's that guilt part of it. But morally, you're only doing it to yourself because you know what you are comfortable with or what you're trying to achieve. So it's really about your own personal journey. You're not going to have a guy that goes, you can't be going out there killing animals and eating them. You can't, it's not, you don't have a preacher there that's like shunning you for what you're doing. It's all what you are comfortable with and how your contemplation, you know what I mean? But that is the tenets of like, so there's lay followers of Buddhism, and then there's like people that live in the monasteries. Did you know that monks, they're monks are the male guys. There's a female, essentially monks, but they call them nuns.
What?
They call them nuns. They got nuns and monks.
I believe that.
Not priests, not, shabadoos.
Couldn't think of a second one.
They're just using words.
Shabadoo.
Why use nun?
Why not?
If you got monk.
What's for boys?
Why not a nunk? Monks and nunks.
It would make more. Gunk would make more sense.
Take it easy. We're gonna get kicked off. I tell you what. So Buddhist sleep schedules, particularly monks, often involve shorter sleep durations than the typical 7 to 8 hours recommended in Western cultures. Monks may
wait. What's their sleep schedule?
Monks sleep between 5 and 7 hours.
I like that.
And some, which, by the way, I already kind of do anyway.
I gotta be honest, 8 feels like a lot.
It kind of hurts sometimes when I wake up after 8 hours of sleep.
8 feels like too many. I'm a big fan of 6.
Yeah. So, but this is really funny. This is what I noticed is, they also, they only sleep 5 to 7 hours, and some find even less sleep, coupled with practices like meditation, is sufficient. Which is funny because then I'm like, okay, so less sleep, more naps.
You know what?
You sleep a little bit and then you just take little naps during the day.
You know what? Like I like a lot of the stuff with Buddhism, but you know what kind of like takes me out of it is I feel like it's a lot of it from reading about it, it comes off as a lot of like sitting and contemplating, and it's just like not a lot of like, what do you do? You know what I mean? Like,
that's the thing is, most of the monks, their schedules and stuff like that, they wake up at like 3 to 4:30 in the morning, so they go to sleep early. They have kind of a lights out policy. They're very schedule oriented, and that speaks to the discipline. They wake up early, and then they stay. Most monks actually, the practice, if you're practicing sila correctly, I guess it's like fasting is a big thing. Buddhism, apparently, the Buddha taught not to eat past noon.
They don't eat in the morning? Or they only eat in the morning?
So they wake up at 3:30 in the morning, 3:30 to 4, and just don't eat anything, essentially. Or eat until, they can eat, essentially, until noon.
No, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, especially with all these monks, it's a lot of, like, sitting around thinking about shit. Yeah. And then they're like, I don't know. It becomes this weird thing where you're like, your life becomes like almost not living in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think there's like you're living, you're like, I think it's almost the opposite, or it's like you're actually only just living. Like you're just existing. You wake up in the morning, you fuel your body with enough food to live. You contemplate, you sit, and then you're only existing. That's your whole thing. So, but basically, what that is doing, if you're doing that in a monastery or whatever, you're basically completely clear to meditate. So, like, anytime you sit down and meditate, you don't have to sit there and go like, all right, well, let me get comfortable. You just can go boom, boom, and then just immediately go to your contemplation.
And that's
zone.
that's what I realized. The part, like, I like elements of the Buddhism and shit like that, because it seems nice and cool. But I realized that was like the part that was taking me out, because, like, to me, I think all that stuff's important. Like, I think it's important to. I've actually been trying to implement that in my day to day of actually, like, stopping and, like, turning shit off and, like, reflecting and doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
To sort of, like, because you need to take a break. But, like, I don't know. The whole concept of Buddhism of trying to, like, eliminate suffering. I feel like sometimes, and this could be my own sort of skew on my skew on my perception of life, but sometimes to me the suffering is what feels like the living. Like, the constantly just sitting there and like it because I'm a guy who's, like, in my head all the time, and, like, the Buddhism shit feels like it might drive me crazy, where you're, like, constantly trying to, like, figure out all these, like, different things to try to get into enlightenment. And I just go like I think a lot of the tools are super useful, but the main thing I keep coming back to is, like, where's the living though? And I think for me, I would benefit from, like, some sort of balance where you do a little bit of that. But I don't know. I gotta be honest. Sometimes I like the suffering.
I think
that's what feels like living to me.
But I think that's the part of it, is like that's you're able to at least disconnect it to where you can observe the suffering.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Okay.
I think that's where it's like to be a practicing Buddhist and a functioning member of society is it seems impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, but I think the beauty of Buddhism is it is achievable, and enlightenment is one of those things where, like, enlightenment, I feel like, at least how I personally observe it, is like a finish line, is like a thing where, like, it does exist, but it's like a thing where, like, the better you are at practicing Buddhism, the easier getting to that finish line is.
1000%.
But that's also a thing of, like, but also enlightenment is also subjective.
Yeah.
This is the most subjective religion that I can picture, because it's the thing where, like, there's nobody, you're your own worst enemy. And when you go there, I feel like when you talk to, or at least when I hear Buddhist monks explain it, or you talk to a Buddhist or anything like that, I feel like there's a level of consideration and there's a level of help. They're actually helping, and they're not just going to quote a Bible verse, or they might say, well, as far as Buddhism, as far as what we believe, this is how we would do it. But, like, you have to find your own way. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing of, like, there is no right answer, and there is not really a wrong answer. Like, that's the thing, it's your own moral compass guiding you, but these are the practices of how you can live your life like a Buddhist. And I think the more like it you live, the less you worry about those other things.
Yeah,
so, like, you don't think about, like, suffering, you don't think about missing the other things.
That's a really good point, because I think the worry is what's important. Eliminating that, like, understanding your limits, understanding a good way to maneuver through life, and then, like, trying to figure out how to eliminate that worry, I think, is very important, because it's like a lot of stuff with I've made fun of a lot of times the optimization bros, And I go, that's not like that's fun, but like that's cool you're doing that. But like, when do you start living and stuff? And I think a good sort of and Buddhism has a certain thing that I notice with it, but I think a good sort of application is where it's like you can do those things, but understand these teachings and universal truths to like bring balance to your life and sort of find that, because I think there is like a happy medium, because it's like, I don't know, dude. It's going back to the optimization bros. It's like, oh yeah, I have all this body fat, but I have 0% body fat. But it's like, are you doing anything that's like, or you know what a better example is, like how a lot of people, like when they were trying to like mitigate risk during COVID, which was important because there was a disease, but it gets to a certain point where it's just like, are we just gonna be pod people for the rest of our fucking life?
Yeah, when they said like you can't get on a when they're like, can't get on a bus without a mask. I remember when I first heard that, I was like real boomer as far as like they're not, you can't go outside without a fucking like kind of thing of like, it's like
to me that's a valid complaint. That's not boomer, but but it is that. I think that was the big thing of COVID, where there were a lot of people that were just like, just don't be a human, just be a pod. You basically. COVID turned a lot of people into fucking paperweights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and it's like, but also at the same time, like, and even the people who didn't get on board with any of the COVID shit, it's like, yeah, but you also understand there is a disease out there that if you do certain types of things, you're going to get sick. And I think that was a really exposing moment of like, there needs to be a balance to things. We can't.
Yeah, can't be hot or cold. We need some warm, baby.
You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right, because a basket.
Unless you have a really big basket, though. I don't know if that's actually the same.
But a lot of the eggs at the bottom are going to get crushed probably if you put too many.
Well,
is that what you're trying to say?
But if you stack them properly, they'll be fine. But if you move too erratically while you're maneuvering the egg, I don't know you guys get what I'm saying.
Speaking of erratic eggs, I wanted to go back to your head comment. You're worried about being stuck in your head all day with Buddhism, but I feel like you're worried about getting stuck in your head currently. But I think if you are stuck in your head and you are practicing all the different
it's like my head's like a.
That's a good thing.
I'm stuck in like a shitty.
Literally, what you're doing is you're being mindful.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing where in those everyday moments when you deal with those, the fucking computer's not working the way, this is not happening the way I want or whatever. In those moments, you're more present and you're more in your own thoughts. So like legitimately, a thought that I've had, and I've told you this millions of times. But like I would love more than anything to not have any social media. I don't want I hate the obligation, and then I hate even thinking when I go like, well, I'm just going to delete it off my phone, but I still have the account because I know I'm going to be back. And I know that there's an aspect of like you got to have it, you got to promote all this bullshit. What?
I was just going to say that's the dumb little phone game I was playing when I came in.
Yeah.
Like this bullshit. Dude, I have so many of them on my phone right now.
Yeah.
I have like all these dumb phone games because
and literally every time you show me, it's not okay there. And when you show me the first one, it was an ad. The second time, it was blank.
It was an ad. I just show you my dick.
Oh, stop. Oh.
But no, a lot. And I realized like I was getting nothing positive out of social media.
Yeah.
But then I started playing. Can I show you another game? And then you actually just see a fucking ad. This isn't an ad. I was playing this one a bunch, and I realized I was like, oh, social media has created this like dopamine urge where I need to like look at my fucking phone and have like a reaction. And so I downloaded a shit ton of these mind-numbing, like mindless games. Not mind-numbing, just mindless games. And I have been staying off social media a little bit better because I'm like, oh, they're satisfying that like dopamine urge I get from, cause so I just get on social media. That's the other part too. Like I think there is secretly a part of me that loves to get angry, and I like the suffering because, dude, I get stuck on social media just getting fucking mad at the worst opinions. But
yeah, I think it's and that's what I'm saying is like when I am gooning on porn or I'm eating shitty food or I'm like on social media, I don't feel good. I don't feel right. And even like, oh, I got to pop in. Like even the thing of like, oh, you just keep it on there and just post a thing. it feels like it has altered me negatively to a point where it is damaging.
You know what I think that is? Because I think, and this kind of correlates back to Buddhism, where I think there's a lot of behaviors in modern. This is why a lot of people feel bad right now. Is there's a lot of behaviors in modern life that are the equivalent of like eating potato chips, where you are putting something in your body. But we've all been there. You get to the end of a bag of Lay's potato chips, and you're like, I could eat 10 more bags. It doesn't feel like I ate anything. Buddhism is going, you should eat your broccoli. And you're actually going to love yourself after you've eaten this broccoli.
Right, yeah. Like the thing where like all of the things that they're saying that are intoxicants or aren't bad are like a daily thing for me.
Yeah.
And it's a thing where it is, and
it's the problem with technology right now.
And you want to say like, oh, you fucking hippies, blah, blah, blah. But then you actually look at your life and you're like, I don't feel well.
It's the problem
day to day. Like it is correct to say like, I don't feel 100%. Right when I kill. I've always been morally against killing humans.
Yeah.
But I also,
unless they cut you off in traffic.
No, I'll curse at them. I'll curse them and wish death on them. But I would never hurt them.
I have been actually
I hope you die.
Well,
but I want nothing to do with it, sir.
I've been wishing more death upon people. That's why I needed to that's why I realized I needed to like sort of center,
and that's not right. That's
myself.
Not a good. Yeah, that's not.
I've been okay with people's hypothetical deaths way more.
Uposatha is a practice that Buddhists observe where it's like a periodic day of renewal. And that's another thing I really appreciate is the fact that they have that built into their practices.
Yeah.
Where they say like it's not like weekly necessarily, but like when you're starting to feel that kind of thing. See now, but this is where I come to a head road. What is it? By a fork in the road?
I don't know. I like what you're doing. I don't want to help you.
This is where I become a bisexual man.
This is where I go trans. This is where I trans myself.
This is where I take a big old fistful of mushrooms and reset. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then Buddhism is telling me, that's an intoxicant. But to me, for my body, for my journey, for my contemplation.
What's your body, your choice?
Well, yeah. But also, I would love to find out what they feel. Well, killing beings.
What?
I was going to say, I want to know how they feel about abortions, but I think that's pretty much laid out.
Yeah.
But like how can like
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Don't kill beings. Sorry guys. But there's a thing where like where was I just going with that?
Mushrooms?
Oh, yeah. Essentially that's like that was hugely beneficial to my psyche, my brain, my feeling, my soul, essentially. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had a religious, but I also kind of took like a religious dose.
Yeah.
So it's a thing where like I don't think if you're knowingly using the thing to get fucked up, that's what it is. So like it is really all internal. It's subjective. But everything that they're explaining that you should try to avoid, I don't.
But I think also too, like that's partially, and I'm obviously a week's worth of studying. I'm no expert on Buddhism, but like what I've noticed is I noticed a lot of it is like the avoidance of suffering, when I think it's better to sort of go learn how to positively react to suffering.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's a concept as simple as like, brother, you don't build muscle until to build muscle you gotta break it down and stuff like that. And I think also too, like we've all perfect example. A couple months ago, I remember something happened with, I don't want to get too specific because it's very embarrassing what I did, but like someone pissed me off and I got really mad and I was screaming to my fucking wife about it, just going like, how dare they treat me like this, da 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 da. And it was like I shouldn't have been acting like that. And then by the end of it, it's like I finally got my yelling done, and the second I got my yelling done, I was like, oh, I'm being a dickhead. Like I needed to go there to like learn about myself. So I think that's what's good about, like, I think there's a lot of amazing tools in Buddhism, but I think to like grow and learn as a person, you gotta like. I'm not saying, we've known people who, they take they take heroic doses and go schizophrenic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying do that every fucking day, but like there is something to that of like, fuck it, let's try to go out to the edge and then come back.
That's a good distinction. Not every day.
No,
like literally I haven't taken a big old mushroom trip like for like a couple years. It's been, so like it's not like a thing that I don't. It's not a thing.
How often do you do mushrooms?
Probably. I mean, depending if I
I'm
have
on them right now.
Yeah. Well, are you a cop? No, I think I would say probably because I would get those chocolate things, the little chocolate bar things. One is like feel good. 2 is like feel good and a little weird. My arms feel a little numb after a little bit, and I go, uh-oh.
Like 4.
3, I'm crying at a White Castle. I literally cried in Vegas and at a White Castle on the phone with my wife because I took 3 gummy bars that
wait,
day.
At
Skankfest, yeah.
Wow, you've had very different experiences in White Castles that weekend.
Yeah, I went through a whole range of emotions at White Castle that week.
I remember being in there where you were like, I'm comfortable with everyone's murder.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with every single person here getting murdered.
And like Ridley and a couple other people are sitting over at another table, and they're like, "Come on over here." And I'm like, "I'm on the phone." Oh, I'm wearing sunglasses. I'm on the phone with my wife. I can't.
That's so funny.
I'm like, "You don't belong here."
I might be overdue. I might be overdue for a breakdown and crying.
And that's what I'm saying is that's why I don't abuse mushrooms. I do abuse marijuana.
Yeah.
But it's also like a thing of like, but I also realize for how my body works, marijuana is beneficial, but I just probably do it too much. But that's just that's the thing, is being mindful.
You know what it is for you with marijuana? It's how I realized when I drink, I don't buy a case. Because it's like if I buy a case of beer, I'll drink the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
You seem like a dude who's it's beneficial you have a little bit of weed every day. But the fact that you have weed around you all the time,
right? It's also
becomes a little bit more very quickly,
and
that's not the end of the world, but
that's losing. That's the thing, is like each one of these things, all these things are just being mindful and being present.
Yeah.
So this is a thing that I realized, and this is why I feel like it's not just I'm reading about Buddhism. I think I've done like slight research, obviously, in the past, but like this is a thing where this is actually where I feel like it is the right practice for me, because discipline gives me peace and happiness, personally.
Yeah,
I've found that. So contemplation is all I ever do. That's really all I ever like. I am always doing that, but I'm never like sitting down to do it. I'm doing it while I'm on like 4 cups of coffee. I'm doing it while I'm on I'm dwelling on an argument that somebody cut me off in traffic, or a pretend argument I'm having with somebody that I need to confront about something. All of that stuff. Those are the things I'm contemplating. But if I'm sitting here and just focusing on this conversation I need to have, and actually just sit and just think on that.
Yeah.
And just go through the layers of like, if I say this, but is he really going to say that? Or why would he say that?
Yeah.
Justify. Like it's just about focusing and being mindful. The same thing with eating. Oh, I'm going to eat something. Well, what is this? What am I putting in my body? Oh, like, did something have to suffer or die for that?
No, that's a good point. Like, just being mindful about that.
But personally, discipline, like when I'm training well and I'm doing all this stuff, all of those things come easier. Mm-hmm. It's like a rolling thing, and this is it feels less like a religion and more like a diet plan or like a lifestyle choice or something. But my consideration for others has been misguided. Personally, I am very interested in learning more about Buddhism, and may even begin practicing it seriously. I don't know. I mean, like, I may actually try to give it a real, like, because...
sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
I was just going to say, because the last thing is pranaya, or panaya, sorry. It's wisdom.
Yeah.
Knowledge is not wisdom. Knowledge is a part of wisdom. You can gain wisdom through those 3 means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because I like that element of it too, because that was always like because I've noticed that, because I think guys like you, me, we always joke about it, where talking about like we've been joking about it on Panties, because there's that episode where Lemaire was calling me dumb, so I got defensive and I go, I think I'm smart. Yeah. Which is just, that's what every smart guy says.
Yeah.
But I do think like I think that like wisdom versus knowledge is a good distinction, because I think we're more in, like, this is gonna sound pretentious, but like we're more like, I'm not even gonna say we're in that category, but that category makes more sense for us. Because I've met a bunch of people who, this was kind of the distinction I was trying to make, but, we're all yelling over each other, so you don't really get the opportunity to do that all the time.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like the point I was trying to get at, where it's like, dude, I know a bunch of smart people who just can't get, like they know a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
But they lack, like, common sense and various things like that. And it's like, I'd rather be the guy that's like a well-rounded person who has a lot of wisdom, versus the dude who's like, oh, I'm just like, if you need I'm an encyclopedia on a certain topic. Because it's like, there's a lot of people in this world who got a bunch of fucking information in their head, but they don't know what to do with it, and they're just as useless as a fucking dumb guy.
Yeah, and I think that's the real key to, like, I do live my life closer to this than any other religion.
I think I do too. Yeah.
Like I already am, and I'm somebody who has been practicing self-reflection. Like there was a thing where, like, when you guys all kind of moved to Jersey and shit like that, and we ended up staying in PA, I had to do, like, I was basically, and even before that, like, I was trying to find out, like, who am I? Like, what do I, like, if I want to get mad at so many people, I want to, like, judge people, I want to be such a negative person. But if you just have that contemplation or that self-reflection of, like, what do I really offer, who am I actually, kind of thing, and, like, I feel like that's already part of this. So and all of the other things that I'm not doing that's a part of Buddhism are just only things that are going to better my life. So I don't know.
I think you and me are similar, where it's like there's a list of things we already do, and then there's a big list of things that we know we should do. Right. That we just, going back to you talking about the mindful shit. Yeah. I think like it happens to me. I fucking, that's why it's half the reason I'm fucking fat. Besides the drinking, it's like I get hungry, I get really impulsive, I eat a bunch of McDonald's, and then I feel like a bag of shit, and I get mad at myself. And it's like, if I took 5 more seconds to be a little mindful, I would go, hey, how about we just get one cheeseburger, and then that'll be enough? Or why don't we go over to the gas station and get a bag of peanuts or something? Like little things like that.
I want just I want a little treat thing, or I want to trick my brain in this thing, or whatever. I always do sorry.
No. I also too think a thing I've been trying, I think maybe like the meditation or something might be good, because I forget what it was exactly. But I noticed I was doing certain things to avoid actually dealing with my problems. Yeah. Like, I would give myself a bunch of work to do, and you're like, you don't got to do any of it. Like, none of this you have to do. You're just telling yourself you have to do this, so it's like, well, I could do this, and then that'll give me new ideas for a joke, or blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, oh, no, you're doing this because you don't like to sit with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly. And that's what I'm saying is, like,
because the silence is terrifying.
And that's the suffering. Like, that's the suffering essentially is your guilt for not being a person that you want to be.
Yeah. And I think for me, that stems from being like just the base level assumption that I'm a bad person. Yeah. And then it's like, but you deserve this. And it's just like, that's the thing I need to work on, where it's like, you don't have to just sit there and, like, live your life like you're punishing yourself.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, it's not that hard. Like I said, it's hard to do in a day-to-day, especially with our friend group, our hangout sessions, all this other stuff, to be like, nobody's done eating at 12. Nobody's even awake at 12. So it's gonna, if you are to follow the exact, practices of Buddhism, it's gonna be harder. But find your own thing, and I feel like I really feel like that's what I'm gonna try to focus on.
I think that works better. I don't know how you are, but that works better for me. Where I've been noticing, like, dude, it's weird. It's like if I give myself a very direct task, I now I don't know. There's something in my brain where I go, now it feels like homework, and now it's the absolute last thing I want to fucking do. But there'll be days where I'll wake up and I'll be like, what do you want to fucking do today? And like, I randomly picked up one of my books and I crushed like a fuck ton of the book. But it's not because I go, I want to fucking do this. And it's because I just kind of like went with the day and I stayed in the moment. Yeah. And I do think, going into more of that Buddhist shit and applying it and being more mindful of just like, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, but I like this stuff. I think it's kind of cool. I don't know if I'm going to be a fucking full-blown Buddhist, but out of all the different religions, this one seems like way less. This one doesn't seem like it's I'll put it this way. I read a bunch about Buddhism this week, and I only read one time about them like asking for money, and it was purely just because it's like, hey, you know, if you want to, if I'm Buddha, I got to keep doing this. Can you give me a little bit of money so we can keep it moving and stuff? Yeah. Not a bunch of this fucking like pay the priest a couple bucks and get into heaven for forgiveness, fast pass and shit like that. Yeah. So
that's the thing. It's like it's a beautiful practice in which like it's infinity meets philosophy. Yeah. And that fucking scratches so many itches for me, because then I don't like the philosophy bullshit of the cat, the Schrodinger's cat, the fucking tree falling in the woods. Those are stupid questions. Those are stupid questions that are just dumb arguments that feel like clickbait of philosophy. Those are clickbait philosophy shits. But the ship of Theseus, the what's the guy that pushing the rock up the hill? You know, Sisyphus.
Right?
That was great.
Who's the fucking Who's the one with the wax wings?
That flew too close to the sun.
Yeah.
Fuck. Damn, I can't remember the goddamn name. But yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying is you have these different like those kind of things where like it's feels more Bible-y. So like the Buddhism kind of takes away those things, but just has that same feel of like, yeah, but I mean, what if this happens and maybe you shouldn't do this and life is precious and.
Well, you think about it too with like, and I'm sure there's cases in Buddhism where people were taking advantage of each other financially, but like you were talking about the cult question. Yeah. And then that's another one where I go, like, because one of the big things that stuck out to Buddhism was like the money, and the money. It just didn't like with all those religions, or if you're trying to figure out something's a cult, there's very quickly like, you know, there's give me all your fucking money or set up your paycheck so you can direct deposit a bunch of money here. Like I didn't feel like Buddhism had that same vibe. Buddhism was just kind of like you said earlier, like, hey, we're here if you need it.
Yeah. I love it. I'm Buddhist, man.
Pretty cool.
Namaste or something. I gotta piss so bad. I'm sorry.
Hell yeah.